The first pillar of heroic leadership: self-awareness. First and foremost, let us have an overview of the topic. An author named Chris Lowney provided fascinating perspective on the subject in Heroic Leadership. He described this as the 4 pillars of the Jesuit leadership principles. He described the practices which the Jesuits owed their success to, the application of the 4 pillars of heroic leadership, which are self-awareness, ingenuity, love, and heroism. So one may ask, what is heroic leadership in this context? A person needs to become a leader for his or herself first. He or she needs to become self-aware, to be able to take responsibility for one's actions and decisions. And he or she is a leader to others, where he or she will be able to help them become more self-aware, to analyze their decisions and lead their own lives. Now let us focus on self-awareness. It is the first pillar of heroic leadership. Self-awareness is to understand their strengths, weaknesses, values, and the worldview. This refers to a person who knows what he wants, where he wants to pursue it energetically, and inspire others to do so. Self-awareness is to cultivate possibilities and operating outside of your comfort zone, where he can also apply the Ignatian value of magis. Examples of cultivating self-awareness among the Jesuits. The early Jesuits invented an array of tools and practices to mold self-aware recruits. Jesuit trainees dedicated all their energy searching for self-assessment. Engaging in the spiritual exercises was the peak developmental moment of a training regimen. Recruits emerged from training knowing what they wanted in life, how to get it, and what weaknesses could trip them up. Now, let us have some points to ponder on self-awareness from the IC members themselves.
Self-awareness is never a finished product. This simply means that you have to learn and develop self-awareness for you to be able to know more about the potentials that you have in your life. Being a leader on certain events or projects, I was able to discover more of what a leader should be. An example of this is, first, I have to look at myself and my group objectively. Then I keep a journal on the things we've talked about, on how to improve our project or group activities. Then I write down our goals, our plans, and our priorities as we are so busy at the moment. And lastly, I ask feedback from them to know on how our group are doing. This is an example of the statement, self-awareness is never a finished product. It is a learning process to develop and to change ways for me to become a better leader to others and for me to become a better person.
Instilling the habit of continuous learning and of daily reflection. According to Chris Lowney, the Jesuits did not confine themselves in the borders of the traditional. They accommodated change, and instead of remaining stagnant, they were dynamic leaders. As busy people, they did practice reflect on the run, or being able to do recollection during the day. A concrete example of it, for me as an aspiring leader, is how noisy, loud, or bustling the outer world can be. For me, when I wake up, I have to listen or meet the news for COVID-19. Next, I would have to hear debates or opinions on politics. Third, I would have to hear the traffic outside. And all of this can happen while I'm doing my chores or while I'm doing online class. If you sum it all up, it can be very noisy, very distracting. Of course, it can really disrupt my day-to-day routine. This is where self-awareness comes in. A concrete response for me is when I distance myself for a bit and take a deep breath. Be aware of my environment and of myself. because doing this, I believe, can practice and instill the habit of learning to accommodate the dynamics of change alongside the practice of daily reflection. Because, in the words of St. Ignatius, if you want to be of use to others, begin by taking pains with yourself. The fire that is to enkindle others should be lighted at home. With this, I can continue to learn, to be more, and be more aware of myself and instill a habit from it.
Good leader is self-aware. According to Jeff Anderson, self-awareness is the first step for a lifelong journey of being a great leader. A leader must always have an awareness of itself. It will allow leaders to do their best not just for their own sake, but also for the goodness of others. A leader must be able to recognize his or her own strengths and weaknesses, so that he or she will not be able or will not be vulnerable to any corruption. I believe that it is essential for us leaders, or for me as a leader, to be aware of my strengths and weaknesses, so that I will know of what areas I am good or not. Knowing my strengths and weaknesses will allow me to identify of what things I can offer to others. For example, I am a type of leader who always asks for suggestions or comments from my members before creating any decisions. With that strength, I now know of what are the things I can offer or what kind of help I can give to my members or to other people. And that is how self-awareness becomes a great key for us to become a good leader.
Research increasingly suggests that IQ and technical skills are far less crucial when it comes to successful leadership than self-awareness is. I myself would absolutely agree to that. Something that is probably the most crucial key to any form of success when it comes to leadership is something that is called self-awareness, and research suggests so. As a matter of fact, psychology says that self-awareness breeds off a certain kind of mentality and gives a certain boost or a certain level of confidence. The very same concept as to why the lion is the king of the jungle. You see, the lion is not the strongest, he is also not the smartest, the tallest, and not even the strongest, but he is very self-aware to the point that his mentality is very different among other animals. You see, when a lion sees an elephant, the lion thinks, "Oh, this is my lunch." But when the elephant sees the lion, "Oh, this is a predator." This is how a man, who is myself by the way, became a leader and a successful one to more than 2,000 people. And it was my first time ever doing so. It was my first time ever running an election, my first time ever winning an election, and my first time ever sitting in a position with so much power and so much authority because we were following the Department of Education standards. See, despite the lack of experience, and though I have never been in that position before, I knew what I was capable of. I know where I was good at, and I know what I was very, very bad at. And I also knew that one doesn't have to be perfect to become a good and successful leader. Because of that, I wasn't afraid of anything. I wasn't afraid of taking risks. I wasn't afraid of speaking up. I wasn't afraid of leading my people, and I wasn't afraid of taking stand into anything that I believe is right. And my success story is a living testament to the fact that skills and IQ and all of those things, be it self-awareness when it comes to being a crucial part of being a successful leader.
Leaders thrive by understanding who they are and what they value, by becoming aware of unhealthy blind spots or weaknesses that can derail them, and by cultivating the habit of continuous self-reflection and learning.